The internet, it's vast, isn't it? Most of us, we stick to the familiar places, social media, the news sites. But beyond that, there are other places, less known, sometimes pretty unsettling. Today, we're going to tell you a story about some of those sites that exist out there on the fringes of the web. Places with ideas, with content that's, it's unsettling, sometimes really hard to figure out. We're drawing this from a YouTube video that looked into some of these genuinely strange corners of the internet. So maybe dim the lights a bit. Sit back. Let's get into this. Okay, first up on our, let's call it, unsettling tour is a site focused on something many find a bit spooky. The Museum of TalkingBoards.com. You know Ouija boards, right? They started way back, late 19th century, just a parlor game, seemed harmless enough. But then, with spiritualism taking off, how people saw them, it shifted. They became known as this tool, supposedly, for talking to the dead. And this website, it's all about that. The history, how to use them properly, their, quotes, not mine, all the superstitions around them. It even shares stories, like really intense, sometimes scary experiences people claim they've had trying to contact, the spirit world. And yeah, if you're curious, they link you to places to buy actual boards. Oh, and there's an online Ouija board right there on the site. Anyone can use it.
What's really interesting there is the tone. It's almost like reverent towards these boards, even with their whole ominous reputation. It presents itself as history, as information, but it's also selling them, So it kind of normalizes them, maybe even makes them seem legitimate, not just a game. And that line between just being curious and actually believing, it gets blurry. Especially for younger people, maybe just stumbling onto it.
Yeah, that's true.
It does make you wonder, doesn't it? With these online boards, so easy to find now, for any age.
Yeah.
What happens if people are, trying to contact something without really understanding?
Yeah.
Especially if they believe it could be something not so friendly.
That's a really unsettling thought. Do you feel that risk makes the Ouija board just too dangerous? Or is it all just stories, superstitious stuff? Have you seen strong opinions either way?
Well, the debate usually comes down to whether you think the board itself has some kind of supernatural power, or if it's all psychology, like the ideomotor effect, where your muscles move without you consciously doing it. Skeptics point to that, science. Believers, though, they often have these really personal stories, things they just can't explain. So yeah, strong feelings on both sides. It's quite a line to walk.
Fascinating. How something so simple can spark all that. Okay, let's shift gears now toward something, even more obviously morbid. Artemortis.com. The name, it's Latin, means the art of death. And trust me, when you land on the site, there's no confusion about what they sell. The stuff available is, honestly, it's shocking. You've got items for, occult practices, runes made with actual blood and bone. They even list human remains. There's a skull with foliage arranged on it. And animal specimens, like a preserved fetal pig, framed autopsy tools too, an actual bone saw. It's a lot. And then there's the murderabilia section, if the other stuff wasn't enough. Here you can apparently buy things like a letter written by Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, or a small piece of fabric from clothes Aileen Wuornos wore just before her execution.
Looking at the bigger picture here, yeah, that kind of thing makes a lot of people deeply uncomfortable. The site says, that the criminals or their families don't profit from it. It raises that big question, doesn't it? Does selling anything connected to these killers, even indirectly, just sensationalize them?
Yeah.
Does it sort of elevate them to this weird, iconic status, almost celebrating them? It's a tricky area.
It really is complex. Okay, moving from the macabre to something invasive, chillingly so, insacam.org. This is reportedly a Russian site, and what it does is let you watch live streams from thousands and thousands of webcams all over the world. And how is this possible? Mostly because people just don't change the default password on their security cameras, so the streams, they vary. A lot are, boring, streets, traffic, maybe some wildlife, mundane stuff. But then you get the other views, the really private, disturbing ones, inside people's houses, their gardens, their balconies, offices, warehouses, cafes. And what feels particularly awful is seeing streams from inside nursing homes. Elderly, frail people, maybe in situations they'd never want anyone seeing. And they have no idea.
Yeah, what's striking there is the site's own claim. They say apparently that none of the cameras breach privacy, and they'll remove any that do. But it seems pretty obvious that many already do breach privacy, and it's hard to believe everyone being filmed even knows about it.
Exactly.
And it's worth remembering, this site got into trouble before, didn't it? For having links to cameras where you could see women partially clothed. Just adds another layer of wrongness to it all.
Yeah, definitely unsettling. Okay, if you happen to be a nervous flyer, you might want to tune out for this next one, seriously. It's called planecrashinfo.com. And yeah, The name says it all. It's this huge database, basically, all about aviation disasters. It is not easy reading. You can find information on recent crashes, search for specific ones from the past, look at data, photos. It's very comprehensive. They break down airlines by their crash history, lists of the worst accidents, crashes with weird causes, ones involving famous people. But the part that really hits hard, the last word section. These are transcripts. The final conversations between the pilots on planes that are going down and the air traffic controllers on the ground. And sometimes there are links to audio recordings of those last moments. Listening to them, and it's just heartbreaking. You hear the fear, the panic, the helplessness from everyone involved.
What's really compelling about this site, in a grim way, is how it handles such disturbing material. It seems respectful, but the content itself is just not raw. It taps into that morbid curiosity maybe we all have about tragedy, but it presents these unfiltered moments of extreme stress, extreme loss, and that kind of thing. It sticks with you long after you click away. It forces you to think about, well, how fragile things are, why things go wrong, our own vulnerability, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely stays with you. All right, finally, let's talk about sentimentalcorg.org. This one is truly bizarre, and honestly, not much is known about it, or about who created it. They use the name Randy Prozac. That's about it. The site has these videos, songs, they feature really distorted voices, weird animations, people in masks, strange outfits. The themes seem to be about like society being brainwashed, government corruption, the Illuminati, free will being an illusion, how brutal people can be, that sort of thing. A lot of it uses explicit language, graphic images, mixed in with news clips, sound bites from famous people. The whole effect is just bewildering. You can't tell what's supposed to be a joke and what's serious, especially because the messages seem to crash sometimes. Like one part says no hate speech, but then other stuff links to some really distasteful material. It's confusing.
What caught my eye here was this interview I read with Randy Prozac, whoever they are. In it, they actually admit to using things like brain-altering frequencies and infrasound on the site. Sound waves so low you can't hear them, but some people claim they can affect your mood.
Wow.
Okay, and the way they answer the interview questions.
Yeah.
He was just rambling, didn't always make sense. But underneath it all, there's this real feeling of contempt. Just contempt for society.
Yeah.
It just ramps up the unease you get from the site itself. Makes you really question who's behind it and why. It's deeply perplexing.
Well, that was certainly a journey, wasn't it? 5 websites that are genuinely disturbing, each in its own way. We're definitely not telling you to go look them up.
Yeah.
But they do give you this strange glimpse into the weirder, sometimes darker corners of the internet that exist out there.
Yeah, and if you think about the bigger picture, these sites are kind of a reflection, aren't they? The internet connects us, gives us information, but it also mirrors everything else about humanity, the curiosity, the darkness, and that constant push and pull between what's public and what's private online. They really make you pause and think, what am I actually looking at here?
Yeah.
And maybe,
Yeah.
what's looking back?
And a provocative thought to end on. Thank you for joining us as we told these unsettling stories. If you found this exploration captivating, maybe even a little chilling, and you want more content that delves into the unsettling, please do like, share, and subscribe to Pun Horror Docs. That's Chung Horror Docs. We'd appreciate the support. Until next time.